What on earth could possibly increase muscle mass by 2 pounds in 6 weeks with just resistance training 3 times per week? As a matter of fact, it's not even just a 2-pound increase. It's more like a 4-pound increase, but 2 pounds above those that didn't take this supplement. I'm talking about something that's called trimethylglycine. Now I know how YouTube works. Now that you heard what the supplement is, you can click off the video, go to Amazon, pick up your trimethylglycine, and you're off to the races. But that's actually not the end of the story. We have to look at how it works. We also have to look at dosing and where you should get it properly. Plus, hopefully you just want to be a student and learn. So let's dive into how this works and look at a few different studies, because there's some on fat loss that are hugely interesting as well. And after today's video, I put a link for 25% off of Seed's Daily Synbiotic. This is a probiotic and a prebiotic in one capsule. Yes, they're a sponsor on this channel, and that is how we get to do what we do. But I also only recommend things that I sincerely use. Now, Seed is interesting because I noticed the differences in my body within less than a week of taking it. Some people say about 2 weeks, some people say a couple of days. Reality, give yourself a week or two to feel the difference. But they use a capsule inside of a capsule technology, so you get this interesting multi-stage delivery of the prebiotic and the probiotic. But most importantly, they put their money where their mouth is. They do a lot of their own clinical trials, even if it doesn't work in their favor, and they still publish them. And I think that takes some serious merit and serious honor. Plus, I just think it's a very credible product. So that link down below gets you 25% off that Seed Daily Synbiotic. Check them out in the top line of the description after this video. Journal, the International Society of Sports Nutrition, took 2 groups. One group, they gave 2.5 grams of trimethylglycine, which is also known as TMG, which is also known as betaine. So they gave them that amount, and then they gave another group a placebo. And they had them resistance train 3 times per week. They had them do 2 lower body days, 1 upper body day, with about 3 sets per muscle group, 6 to 7 rep range to failure. So that's some pretty serious work they were putting in. They found that both groups gained muscle. They were both resistance training. But the group that was taking the placebo gained 1.9 kilograms, whereas the group that was taking the betaine, the TMG, gained 2.9 kilograms of muscle. Okay, well, what the heck's going on here? Well, we actually have to look at another study that was published in the same journal, and it tells us a little bit more, because this particular study took a look at individuals that were already trained. They weren't necessarily newbies, and they found very similar things. 2.5 grams of betaine TMG compared to placebo, 6 weeks of training. They did arm muscle cross-sectional area. So they actually looked at the actual muscle biopsy in the cross-sectional area. They found that the betaine group had significant increases in their muscle cross-sectional area while also improving body composition. So they actually lost fat while they built muscle. This is really intriguing, and still trying to figure out exactly what is going on there. However, other studies have demonstrated that betaine causes an increase in human growth hormone, an increase in IGF, but most importantly in this particular case, an increase in AKT phosphorylation, which has to do with muscle protein synthesis. What all this means in human terms is TMG increased fat loss and increased overall muscle mass despite not even really gaining a lot of weight. It recomposed the body. And I talked about this in another video previously, but the placebo groups actually gained more water weight than the TMG group as well. So if you subtract the water weight out of that, the actual muscle mass in true cross-sectional area without the increase in intracellular water volume was even more than 1 kilogram, which is 2.2-ish pounds. What on earth? I mean, we're not talking about like taking a supplement and magically gaining muscle, but we are talking about taking a supplement and increasing the overall muscle mass, both in untrained newbie gains and trained individuals. It may not be as much in the trained individuals, but it's still notable. Then there was a study published in Nutrients that was a huge study, 6 studies actually, meta-analysis systematic review that I've talked about ad nauseum in other videos before. Super fascinating though, they found that subjects that took the TMG or betaine ended up having decreases in fat mass, decreases in body composition, but no change in BMI or weight. How does that make sense? How do you lose fat but not lose weight if you actually build muscle too? And this was larger data. Again, 6 studies, systematic review. Well, then we get mechanistic. We try to figure out why. We go down the rodent model rabbit hole and we start finding all these crazy things. But one of the things that seems to make the most sense is it decreases fatty acid synthesis and how much fat we actually can store in the muscle, which might make the actual muscle become more dense and more solid with muscle versus fat. But more importantly than that, in both obese and non-obese models, there were increases in insulin sensitivity, decreases in insulin resistance. When you increase insulin sensitivity and decrease insulin resistance, you lower baseline insulin levels. Lower baseline insulin levels, more often than not, will lead to better fat oxidation because insulin is not present and is not inhibiting the action of the enzymes such as hormone-sensitive lipase, which are required for fatty acid oxidation. So what that simply means is lower levels of insulin, along with these other potential mechanisms, lead to just a better metabolism overall. And when you look at the longevity literature, a lot of it makes sense there too. It seems as though TMG, trimethylglycine, might be the trifecta of fat loss, muscle building, and longevity. How much should you consider taking? Most of the literature suggests that 2.5 grams, and based upon these muscle building and fat loss studies, that seems to be the case. So standard effective dose seems to be about 2.5 grams daily. However, there are multiple studies that test 6 and 10 grams and find no negative effects, but only slowly increasing yet diminishing as the dose goes on improvements. So more dose equals more effect. However, it does start to diminish after about 6 to 7 grams daily. So whether it's supplement form or you're getting it from beets, shrimp, wheat bran, or spinach, or your pre-workout supplement that has it in it, it's a good thing to consider. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.